Good evening, everybody. It is Wednesday, November 20th, 2024. This is the Monroe Township Board of Education monthly meeting. Can I please ask everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Allen, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Ms. Alvarez?
Here.
Ms. Bora?
Here.
Ms. DePayne?
Here.
Ms. Fabiano?
Here.
Dr. Peck? Here. Mr. Pirro?
Here.
Ms. Ratner?
Here.
Ms. Sharma?
Here.
Mr. Tofano? No. Mr. Zeichner?
Here.
We have a quorum. In accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law, the Monroe Township Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published, an electronic notice provided by having the date, time, and place thereof posted October 25th, 2024, and November 15th, 2024, at all schools, on the district website, Home News Tribune, Cranberry Press, and filed with the clerk of the municipality.
Thank you. Our next item on the agenda is our closed session resolution. Whereas the Senator Byron M. Bear Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6, provides that the Monroe Township Board of Education may hold an executive session from which the public is excluded to discuss matters that are confidential or are one of the 9 subject matters listed in Section 12B of the Act. And whereas that the board hereby declares that its discussion of the following subjects will be made public at a time when the public's interest in disclosure is greater than any privacy or governmental interest being protected from disclosure. Now therefore be it resolved that the Monroe Township Board of Education, by the Monroe Township Board of Education, that the board shall go into executive session to discuss the following items. Any additional items may be determined and announced as needed. Pending or anticipated litigation in matters covered by the attorney-client privilege, HIB investigation involving students, personnel matter, and is that for the second? Okay, and that's all for the first closed session. Be it further resolved that said discussion may be discussed to the public when reasons for discussing and acting upon it in closed session no longer exist. Action may be taken on any of the items stated above. Can we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pirro, second by Ms. DePayne. We will be in closed session for approximately 1 hour and should return at 7:15.
And just for the benefit of the public, no formal action will be taken in closed session. To the extent that the board is going to take any formal action, it will be done out here in the public when we return.
All those in favor of going into closed session?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We're going to call the meeting back to order. The board has returned from closed session, and the next item on our agenda is the approval of minutes. The first minutes to approve are the Public Board of Education meeting minutes from October 16th, 2024.
Motion. Second.
Motion by Ms. Boris, second by Ms. DePayne. Are there any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, moving on to the next one is the closed session meeting minutes from October 16th, 2024.
Motion. Second.
Motion by Ms. Boris, second by Ms. Alvarez. Are there any questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Okay, seeing none, then we're going to go on to the next part of our board meeting, which is the student board members report. Welcome back.
Good evening. We're going to be starting off with the Oak Tree Elementary School. For Oak Tree, October was a month filled with many treats, ranging from PTA-hosted trunk or treats to the kindergartners' pumpkin picking adventure. The theme this year for Oak Tree was the sweetest place on earth, and students were greeted with cupcakes, candies, donuts, croissants, and a head baker. Due to this week being American Education Week, there have been an assortment of activities planned for Oak Tree's visitors. All Oak Tree students will have a moving day in recognition for earning enough Falcon Feather tickets this fall. This year's One Book, One School will occur for Oak Tree Elementary on November 25th, where the principal will read a book to all the classes and follow up with the various activities. Applegarth also had its own visitations for families and community for 4th and 5th grade. Veterans Day was honored by students writing letters to veterans to thank them for their service. Now we'll move on to the Barclay Brook and Brookside Elementary Schools. Barclay Brook's kindergarten and pre-kindergarten students picked out pumpkins late in October. These pumpkins were then decorated by the students and kept in the students' classroom to bring festive joy to the classes while class parties occurred during Halloween. In honor of Veterans Day, students had written letters of thanks and appreciation for military veterans. These notes and letters were collected and distributed to military veterans. Barclay Brook thanks Ms. Daniel Druss for organizing this event. Like many other elementary schools, Barclay Brook has also had family visitation in honor of American Education Week. The school thanks all the families who have joined and will join later this week. Brookside's parent visitations have taken place this week, and third grade visitations were on November 11th, fourth grade visitations were today on November 20th, and fifth grade visitations will be tomorrow, November 21st. Brookside's Balloons Over Broadway STEM project will happen on November 27th, where students will create a moving float in the shape of an animal or character. Now we'll move on to the Mill Lake and Woodland Elementary Schools. Mill Lakers are celebrating American Education Week by planning special activities to share with visiting parents and guardians. They highlight the school's dedication to creativity, fun, and collaboration. On November 27th, Mill Lake's monthly SEL assembly will be held, this time having a focus on empathy. As the holidays approach, Mill Lake will be preparing for many fun-filled activities to be held, creating a sense of community within the school and an atmosphere of celebration and cheer. Mill Lake School continues to shine as a place where fun and learning come together for all. Several of the fourth grade classes at Woodland were asked to research an influential person in history and later dressed up and gave a speech as that person. This activity helps them prepare for the future by learning proper research techniques and the importance of giving a good speech. Veterans were invited to the honor of Veterans Day, where they answered questions and spoke to students. Additionally, Ms. Fleming and Ms. Herman coordinated a Wounded Warrior Walk on October 30th to commemorate the soldiers and veterans. Student council for the school has finally had their elections, with campaigners giving speeches to the school and voters then having a chance to pick who they feel would be the best fit for student council. Now we'll move on to the middle school. Continuing the middle school's annual tradition, they had hosted a simulated presidential election for their students in order to exemplify the difference between the Electoral College and the popular vote. In 8th grade, Team Vision had hosted a midnight ride escape room in social studies, where they had to travel like Paul Revere across the countryside in order to deliver a message. Of the 24 groups that participated, 14 of them were successful in completing the escape room. Virtual parent-teacher conferences will be held on November 25th and 26th, with 7th and 8th grade conferences being held on the 25th and 6th grade conferences being held on the 26th. In addition, the first Student of the Month recognition was announced for the middle school this month on November 20th. A student was chosen from each of the grades if they demonstrated positive work ethic and several other outstanding criteria. Congratulations to the 3 students chosen for this month. At the high school, many historical moments have been made in the past few weeks. The high school marching band was invited to perform at a finals competition, the second time the band has been invited to perform an event of that size. The girls' soccer team had gotten the Central Jersey Group 4 state soccer title, making it the first championship for the team since 1992 and the first ever at the Group 4 level. The high school congratulates both the athletes and the coaches for their hard work. And last but not least, our very own student representative, Sahej Tada, has been chosen as one of the 7 finalists representing New Jersey in the United States Senate Youth Program. If she passes this final round of eliminations, she will become one of the 2 delegates representing the state of New Jersey at Washington Week with representatives from all of the other states.
That's wonderful.
That's amazing, and thank you. You did all of the schools this week, so thank you very much for that report.
Nice job. Excellent job. Yes.
The next item on our agenda is a discussion of our board goals. So it's November. So in September, I think, at committee meetings, the board began discussing what our board goals, what we thought our goals would look like within each committee. So I took your goals and I put them into, I think there's 5 of them, for us to look at, and we'll discuss and, share them with the community. So our first goal, let's see if it works. It is, thank you. Goal 1, to be fiscally responsible to our taxpayers while maintaining excellent quality of education. And to accomplish this goal, we will continue to focus on the alternative revenue driving initiative, like our ESIP program through Honeywell. Do board members have any comments or questions or discussions or anything that we'd like to change? Ms. Ratner?
I think what's there is great, and it's definitely something I want to focus on. Just also looking at the overall goal, I was wondering if we might be able to add like an action bullet of looking at the budget. I know we've talked about this as a board, but just reviewing the budget. I know we usually do like a comprehensive look at it, but perhaps looking more closely as a board at the budget as we get closer to budget time at some of those, breaking it down to smaller spots, if that makes sense.
Okay, Ms. Bora?
I just have a counter comment to that. I guess that's part of our responsibility, always. In my opinion, we should be doing that comprehensive look at the budget. Sorry, Charlie.
Thank you.
I don't know, did you hear what Kate said?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
Thank you.
sorry. So I was just, my counter comment to that was that it cannot be a goal for this year because that's our responsibility as board members to do that every single time. At every budget cycle, we should be taking a comprehensive look at the budget and ask questions, as many as we have, to get as deep down as we want to get down. So I wouldn't put that in the goal. I would find optimizations for sure, but not looking into it.
Okay, Ms. Devane?
Yes, to address that issue, the Middlesex County School Boards Association is having their meeting on December 12th, and it's to discuss what you just said, Kate, what board members are allowed to, what and how and when can board members participate putting the budget together. We are having a panel discussion. So far, we think we have 7 people on the panel, 2 or 3 superintendents, one is a former superintendent, and 2 or 3 BAs. So everybody there invited. You could be virtual, or you could go yourself. It's going to be up to Piscataway High School on December 12th. That is where we can learn from these people what we are allowed to participate in and what we are allowed to ask to have put in the budget or take out of the budget. So what our opportunities would be then. So if anybody wants to go to that meeting, please go on your website and sign up for it or sign up for virtual.
I actually think I'm registered for that also, and that ties directly to that
It
goal.
ties
to be-
directly with
Yep.
that. Yeah, it came perfectly, yes.
Let me look this way. Anybody? Goal 1? Okay. So we'll keep the language as it is?
It's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So we'll go to goal 2. Goal 2, to use artificial intelligence, or AI, to enhance personalized learning with educational experiences tailored to individual students' needs. To accomplish this goal, we will create and review the district's AI policy. That was something I know that came directly from curriculum and policy. Ms.
And can
Bora?
I suggest an edit, please?
Sure.
I know it did come from my committee. But you always rethink, you always have a second chance at it. The only edit I would suggest, instead of to use, I would say adopt district-wide use of AI. Instead of just use, I would say adopt this, because we seem to be using it, but in fragments. And so I would say district-wide, just to make it clear that our goal is really to start as soon as we can and go as far as we can with adopting AI in our curriculum.
Okay. So it would read, to adopt district-wide use of AI to enhance personalized learning with
That's my
education.
suggestion,
Okay.
yes, unless anybody has anything against.
Okay.
And Dr. Chanley, Dr. Lehman, if you have anything against the suggestion, please feel free to speak up.
Yep.
And,
I mean, the only change in phrasing, maybe I would say support as opposed to adopt, because adopting would be the teachers in the classroom are the ones that would adopt and or implement, right? The board is supporting
That's great.
that.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
As opposed,
I appreciate that.
in
yes.
terms of
Yep,
the
to support.
To
the scope of the
support
role of the board.
district-wise.
Yep.
So to support district-wide use,
Yep.
yes, thank you.
Okay. Ms. Ratner?
And I was also just going to
I'm glad I
say,
asked.
along that, just to possibly support professional development opportunities, and I guess turnkey, those opportunities to just, to support the staff, because I know like they put in for the professional development and then we approve those things, but just the ability to to support them taking those trainings.
Right,
So would it say to support?
No, so in the fine
Yeah.
print, we could probably add what Kate just said. To accomplish this goal, we will create and review the district's AI policy and enhance professional development opportunities. And support. Yes.
Again, because the board is not doing the PD, right? Think about the board's role, supporting
Right, yes.
the district's efforts in accomplishing that goal.
Can I ask a question? We don't have a policy right now. We have to put the policy together, because I think
It's
I
going to
gave
be
you
in next month's agenda.
Right, okay,
policy.
because I think I gave you, when I was at the last Middlesex County meeting, they gave us a copy of Hillsborough's policy, which I think I gave. Yeah, so at least we, we're not, great, so everybody's trying to help each other out, so, okay, good.
You don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Right, so I brought part of the wheel.
That's great, thank you.
Mr. Zeichner, Mr. Piero, no? Anything? No? Okay, so we're good with goal 2? Okay, so go on to goal 3. Goal 3, to advocate for additional funding for our school district. I feel like this is like this standard, standard goal here. To accomplish this goal, the board will work with community members through the Citizens Advisory Committee to increase awareness of the current financial status and needs of the district. Comments? Ms. Bora?
Sorry, yes. Just given what we've accomplished as a team in the past year and a half, I would say that we have advocated for additional funding, like we as a board. So the edit I would suggest to this, to kind of expand our work, is to escalate our advocacy for additional funding at community level, because that's exactly what you're trying to do.
Right, that's
So,
what we're trying to do.
yes, so to escalate our advocacy for additional funding at community level. Because we as a board and a few involved members in the community have been working at it, but
There's another word, too.
my takeaway from the April election was, as I had so many conversations, our community is not aware. Even though we've worked so hard and previous boards have worked so hard, our community is still unaware of the crisis we are in. Even teachers in the community who work for other districts don't realize how hard we have it compared to other communities. So just advocating at a community level would probably increase our reach this year compared to the previous year.
Ms. Alvarez?
My comment on that would be, I think it's too narrow. Like, I like to include it in the language, but not to narrow it just to that, because we should still continue with our state advocacy.
So,
How about
So
this?
escalate,
Wait,
right?
Well-
we have something down here that we want, yeah,
So-
Dr. Lehman, go
How
ahead.
about expand advocacy?
There it is.
And then you can be more specific or, but,
Yes.
right, so it has what you've been doing, but you can expand, broaden.
Or to continue to expand, like we're doing it now, to keep it, keep it going,
Would you want to say on the state and
Yeah.
local community level?
yes.
So, Ms. Ratner?
So I was actually going to suggest that. Also, I was just looking at the sub goal. What do we call these small things? Sub goals, action.
It's more like the, how we're going to
Right,
accomplish.
it's like an
it, our-
action
yeah, our
bullet.
actionable
Okay, because I
item.
keep calling it different things. But just because we said work with community members through the Citizens Advisory, we could say the board will work with the Citizens Advisory Committee to increase awareness throughout the community, and then advocate. And then I also just thought maybe we might want to put something besides advocating for additional funding, also advocating for legislative change for bills. And I don't remember, there might be something else coming, but we don't just want the additional funding one time. I mean, we do, but we
So
also want it to be a
advocate for additional
systemic.
funding and legislative,
And
Amendment.
and legislation, to advocate for additional funding and legislation.
that's,
Well, that's a continue again, because
For-
we've been doing it, so it would be.
Right, so in taking the wording that we've just talked about, to continue to expand our advocacy at the state and community level for additional funding and legislation.
and to continue to advocate for legislative change supporting.
Additional funding and legislative changes.
Right, for
Yeah.
additional funding and, okay, got it. To expand our advocacy at the state and community level for additional funding and legislative changes
Right.
for our school district. So I'll read that coherently now. To continue to expand our advocacy at the state and community level for additional funding and legislative changes for our school district.
Maybe that benefit our school district?
Legislative
Changes.
changes that benefit our school district?
Because it's not just
That
for ours, but.
benefit, okay, that benefit our school district.
Right. That's better.
Yes?
Yes.
Mr. Zeichner, good? Yeah, okay. Okay, ready to go to goal 4?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, goal number 4, to enhance communication throughout our community by identifying areas where we can improve communication. Some tasks to help achieve this goal include identifying areas where we can improve communication, creating a network with our active adult communities, and holding events to hear the concerns of the community members, such as Bagels with the Board. Miss Mora.
I love it as it is, except I would take out that last part, such as bagels with the board, not to be specific and not to be held
Right.
Okay.
to it.
I would too.
Everything
Okay.
else says.
I
is-
agree with that,
Yes.
too. Yeah.
Oh, we have a student board member input there.
How about conversations?
Oh,
with
is
the
your hand
board?
up? I couldn't see it. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was thinking more of like a lot of our communication overall is really lacking within our school district and with the students. So I was wondering if there's any way that we can improve on that sub-action to include not just the active adult communities, but also students within our school district and get them involved.
I think
Yeah.
that's a great idea.
Great idea.
Yeah,
Yes.
so
Do you want bagels?
include
They were like bagels.
students in action item. Okay. So then we would say some tasks to help achieve this goal include identifying areas where we can improve communication, creating a network with our active adult communities and students, and holding events to hear the concerns of community members.
I want to use the word concerns. You know, concerns is automatically negative. We have wonderful community members that come forward. There's a gentleman sitting right here that comes all the time and gives us some information. So concerns has that negative connotation.
How about
Thoughts?
ideas and
Ideas.
concerns?
Right, or even just to speak with members of the community.
And holding
Input,
events,
we could put.
Oh, input. Input's excellent.
hear
Input.
to gather input from
Right.
members of the
Gather
community.
input sounds good. Mhm.
Input from members of community. Okay. Anybody else? Goal number 4?
No.
Okay, then we'll go on to goal number 5, which is our last goal. And goal number 5, to work collaboratively to review, develop, and implement efficient policies that streamline the process of accepting alternate sources of revenue. We don't have an actionable item on that.
Isn't this sort of in goal 1? Right, isn't it that bullet? Goal 1 says to be fiscally responsible to our taxpayers while maintaining an excellent quality of education. To accomplish it, we will continue our focus on alternative revenue driving initiatives.
So this goal was brought forth by the policy committee.
Policies.
So we want to make it so that policy doesn't hold up our ability to accept these.
Right.
These revenue. Maybe it's not being conveyed.
Or maybe we can take this as part of, and put it as part of the actionable item with goal 1.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like take this as an actionable item for goal 1.
That
Like,
sounds
so the
good.
way that we'll accomplish this goal is to work collaboratively to review, develop, and implement policies, so that we don't hold back.
So if I can just ask, I just need, and I agree to the goal. I just want to understand what led us, what did the policy committee see that really needs to be done this year to propose this goal?
So I believe the discussion was based upon how we go about accepting donations and that process. And I don't believe we actually have a policy. It's more of a procedure. So it's for donations, but is there a potential to accept different types of revenue sources?
This
And
came
that's
out of-
what we need to explore.
This came out of a conversation with the Citizens Advisory Committee, I think, didn't it? Or did it start there, or was
I think it
It started
started
before
there.
that, because it was with, I can't remember the name of the website, but where teachers create
Choose.
donations.
Yeah.
And then it
Donors
wasn't,
choose.
right, donors choose is where we
choice.
kind of started that discussion. And just not necessarily allowing it, but having the discussion of how
What it
we.
looks like, yeah.
Yeah.
For donors choose and allows the teachers to participate in that, put a policy regarding that so the teachers can apply for all those grants, even if they're small ones or big ones. So,
Yeah.
it's a good program.
So we'll take goal 5 and move it as an actionable item to goal 1,
Right.
which means we would have 4 board goals.
That's fine. That's
Is that
fine.
good?
Do we want a fifth goal?
I think there's a lot.
Do we want a
There's
fifth
lot
goal?
in
It's
each
up to the
goal.
board. I mean,
No,
There is.
I agree. There's a lot in each goal. You've defined the goal, and what I liked is that you gave all the action on how to do it. And I think we have a lot to work with and a lot to do.
We do, and I just wanted to suggest that since we have the opening up, one thing that had been going on in my head the past couple of weeks that didn't come up when we were putting our goals for curriculum is that it's part of our job, we tend to do it when administration brings it to us, but maybe we make it a board goal for analyzing student success data on a periodic basis. It's just analyzing, I'm not saying that we, but it's just, I don't know if that's needed or but it's something to do with student success that I felt like only thing directly addressing student success right now seems to be the second board goal. Direct impact. Of course, the infrastructure and everything has an impact on student success, but at this point, I only see goal 2 as a direct impact on student success. So do we want to add a direct impact goal for student success? We don't need to. It was just a thought that I wanted to think out loud.
The only thing I would caution with regard to that proposed goal is the board members conducting an analysis of educational outcomes. I think, number one, I don't know that the board is equipped to do that. We would rely upon the educators to provide that data. But certainly if the board wanted to review data presented by the administration related to student outcomes, achievement, et cetera, I think that would be more appropriate to state it that way as opposed to the board conducting an analysis.
Oh, 100%. So the data is always presented. So I probably did not word it right. We only get data directly from the administration. But yeah, the wording can be definitely improved.
but that's, we said like goal 2 is related to student success, so would that be more of an actionable item, like to achieve this goal, to review,
Absolutely, we could add that.
to
and then
review
stick to 4
data?
goals. Yes,
Let me add that.
I agree with that.
To review data.
Yeah.
Okay. Ms. Ratner, your hand was up?
I was basically going to say that, sort of similar to what we had, I think it was last month with Dr. Lehman when he had shared all of the data with us, right? So that was essentially what that goal is, just a continuation of that, maybe doing it on a smaller level, because that was a very, large presentation with a lot of information, but so on a smaller level, but more often.
Okay. So to review data presented by administration to measure student success?
Do you want to say on a quarterly basis?
To what?
Do we have to formalize this tonight?
Well, so it is on the agenda to vote on these. I don't think we're held to a
I would leave it
timeline.
then. Yeah, I would, because I think it needs a little bit more. I just don't want to put something there for the.
I mean, we can bring it
sake
back
of
to,
putting
we can bring it back to committee next month and
To
finalize
add that
it, and
little
then
bullet.
I don't think it has to be another presentation like it is
No.
now.
Yes.
But then next month, we can just vote to approve with the changes.
If you have the time, that'll be great. Then we just give it a little bit more thought and put a more thought
So
out.
in that, it's under board action, 10-member vote, we would just have to table that item.
Make a motion to table.
Does anybody feel that way, or is it just me? If it is, we could just move ahead with it.
Mr. Zeichner?
I'm looking at goal 5 per se, and I just have an issue. I'm not sure when you look at it and to review and develop and implement efficient, I don't know if you want to use the word policies, what about methodologies that would benefit in the process of our not looking, but not accepting, but are identifying, because you really need to identify
alternate sources of revenue, as opposed to
That was in-
accepting. I think the first step is to identify, and then once you do, you move in that direction, I think. would
So,
be-
Go ahead, Ms.
I
Ratner.
was going to say, that's what our first goal in part was, goal one. And so I think what we had like discussed was combining this goal with goal one. So it's identifying those and creating policies that will allow us to move forward. So this would be part of identifying. We also want to make sure we have policies that will support those programs when we do identify them. So this goal is not going to be a goal of its own anymore. It's being moved under the umbrella of the first goal.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take, I have my notes, so I'm gonna retype these and I will, attach them with the revisions. We'll discuss them at committees next week if we need to. And then they are on the agenda tonight for approval. We can make a motion to table it if the board agrees. And if we table it, then we will bring them back next month to vote on as a board. So I'll rewrite everything out and then we can discuss them again. Does that work for you, Mr. Segal?
I think that's the way to go. I think this is a preliminary review.
Yeah.
And we're not going to make a lot of changes on this until we look at it again.
Yep.
And then eventually we'll come up with the goals that will work for all of us.
Yep.
So I think we should table it at this
Okay.
point.
Yeah, so when we get to that item on the agenda, somebody just make the motion to table it, and then we'll bring it back next month.
Yeah,
for
and I can
final.
work with Dr. Lehman on the exact right wordings for reviewing the student performance data.
Okay, so that concludes our discussion on board goals, unless anybody has any other comments or questions. Okay, then the next item on our agenda is committee reports. Are there any committees that would like to give a report? Ms. Ratner?
The Legislative Advocacy and Community Engagement Committee met on November 13th. The Board of Education members present were myself, Ms. DePayne, Ms. Sharma, Dr. Peck, and Ms. Fabiano. The district administrators in attendance were Dr. Lehman and Mr. Meralda. The committee began with a review of the advocacy resources that are made available through New Jersey school boards. We discussed the idea of creating a district-level advocacy calendar that would ensure key dates are followed by future boards, such as when resolutions need to be considered or when signups for budget hearings take place. Then we discussed moving forward with actions regarding the school funding task force. We determined that it would be beneficial to post on the New Jersey School Board message board to determine other districts that may be interested in advocating for that bill. Dr. Lehman also offered to speak with other administrators at one of his future county meetings. I also had brought up the idea of reaching out to an organization called Save Our Schools NJ to see if their messaging is similar to what we're looking for as a district, to look into partnering with them. Just in case anyone hadn't watched this committee meeting, when I went to the budget hearings last year, one of their representatives was lobbying regarding funding, and they were working with a lot of districts that were dealing with funding loss. So that was where that came from. I know South Brunswick is actually one of the districts that works with them, so just to see if it's worth moving forward in working with them. Then we reviewed the current advocacy letter and determined that there are a few things that need to be updated. Mr. Meralda offered to create a living document on Google so that we can modify the letter for our next month's committee meeting. We also had talked about bringing the letter to the Citizens Advisory Committee to have them take a look as well to see where they think we can make improvements on that. Our last topic was a brief discussion about community engagement. Was just one of our goals. The goal was to talk about what we're doing well as a district, and where we can find ways to improve. Some of the things we listed as doing well included our increased social media presence over the last few years, and also transparency when it comes to live streaming and recording our monthly meetings and our committee meetings. We had discussed that there are not a lot of districts statewide that do that, so it's definitely something fairly unique to Monroe. In terms of improvement, one of the things that we had discussed was trying to improve the way we're communicating with our active adult communities, because a lot of them have their own TV channels that are used. And so looking into how each of the communities is using that, and also, I forget who had brought it up. I think it might have been Ms. DePayne. There's bulletin boards that are in the different communities where a lot of people look for information there, as well as possibly providing information in their monthly newsletters, which a lot of the communities have. And then finally, I did just want to commend our administrative team and our technology team because our new website is live today. And so I had put in the report being rolled out this week, but now I don't have to say that because it was rolled out. I guess it still was, but anyway, it's been a topic in this committee for several years.
I think it's about 3.
Yeah. I
about 3.
And so I can say I am, but I really think I can speak for many of us that we are very excited to see all of that hard work come to fruition. I know that it was more laborious than initially anticipated. And so we look forward to a more user-friendly format and interactive calendar, among other things. My husband said to me, "Hey, did you know you can add the calendar things to your Google Calendar?" I said, yes. But so thank you to all of you for your hard work on getting that done.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments for Ms. Ratner? Okay. Are there any other committees that would like to give a report?
One comment.
Sure.
Ms. Ratner, do you want to give an update on the impact? Yes, because I know it's not a great update, but it's an update.
Yeah, so our impact fee resolution has taken quite a road, if you will. When we had submitted it, one thing that I looked at before I submitted it was that they had, I don't know if it was a revision in what they had usually required, that now they're requiring something new, or maybe we were just unaware, but you have to put something specifically in there about adding, modifying, or removing something from their manual of positions and policies. And so I went through it and looked through all of their different funding things. There was nothing there about impact fees, so I asked to add that to part of the funding for state funding. We submitted it, and we received a letter back stating that the resolution was submitted at time, it was formatted correctly, everything was great. However, they have a section in their facilities area of their manual that addresses exactly what we were asking them to add. So they said that it would just be a duplication of their same position. And essentially what a resolution to New Jersey school boards is, it's not saying take action on this now, it's saying this is the position that we would like New Jersey school boards to have if legislation about this comes up. So they had said, because it was a duplication, their recommendation was to remove the resolution from consideration from the delegate assembly. Ms. Bora had offered to speak to the delegate assembly, to the subcommittee for the resolutions. Wow, I'm all over the place. Because I couldn't, because I'm on the committee. And so we had spoken and reached out to New Jersey school boards and talked about the best way to handle this, because we obviously do very strongly want to see this moving forward. And so I don't know if you want to add anything, but we had talked about actions that we can take to support this moving forward in a different way.
So basically, to add to what Ms. Ratner said, what we set out to do was already accomplished. So it wasn't a failure. New Jersey School Board already has a position that there should be impact fees. But that doesn't get us the results that we needed. We need to work with the state government on this. And so how it concluded was that they said they will connect me with the right people, connect us to the right people to advocate for Monroe Township at our legislators level to actually bring this forward, because NJSBA supports us. But that's all they can do. They can support us, but then we move forward from here. So it wasn't a process in vain. What we wanted to accomplish, the first part has been accomplished, but we're still far away from the goal that we need to get to.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a while. I know it took you a while to put the resolution together.
It was so exciting.
But it's in there apparently somewhere. So maybe we have to encourage New Jersey school boards to dig it out a little bit.
I'm going to add one more thing to that really quick. We also did do a follow-up to our message that we sent to our legislators. And so far, you can correct me if I'm wrong, because Ms. Fabiano has sent the follow-up. We have heard back only from Senator Greenstein, who has, Greenstein. I was right? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I was second guessing myself. Who had said that she thanks us for sending this and that she will look into moving these items forward to support our district.
Yep. Okay, any other committees wishing to give a report? Mr. Payne?
Oh, thanks. The Citizens Advisory Committee met on Tuesday, November 11th. The meeting started at 7:05 p.m. In attendance were Dr. Chanley, Dr. Lehman, Ms. Alvarez, Ms. Ratner, myself, and 12 members of the committee. Dr. Chanley, Dr. Lehman, and Ms. Allen, Ms. Allen, you were there too. I left you off the attendance. Let me put it in. Okay. Dr. Lehman, Dr. Chanley, and Ms. Allen presented the 2025-26 budget philosophy to the committee members. Per Dr. Chanley, it was done early this year in order to be fiscally responsible by getting the budget information out earlier to the public. Dr. Chanley described being macro-focused, which means that we are always focused on continuing any and all programs for our children here in this district. She reminded us that the district looks at wants, needs, and must-haves in putting a budget together. Ms. Allen then went over the process with the committee members by which the budget philosophy was proposed. She stated that we will not need a second question this year according to the budget philosophy that was presented that evening. The following dates to remember: March 17th, the budget will be presented at our board meeting. May 5th, the public hearing of the budget. And right now, we're at the mercy of the Department of Education. Everybody thinks it's so easy to put a budget together. Poor Miss Allen and everybody else who's involved in it. Department of Education opens up their link or whatever they have to the budgets and the numbers at the end of January, and state aid amounts are not available to the schools until the end of February, which is terrible. And I mean, you have to rush and run and put all this together. And Ms. Allen, I want to thank you very much for all the time and effort that you put in doing this, and thank you for presenting that evening. The committee well received Ms. Allen and Dr. Lehman and Dr. Chanley's information. They had tons of questions. Dr. Lehman spoke about the new changes to our website. He asked each member of the committee to go over the website, and he gave each one of them a Chromebook or was it Chromebook? Or an iPad or laptop, and find out if they could assess the accessibility of all parts of the website that are of interest to the committee members. So we have seniors. So could the senior ladies get to where they want to go? We had parents. Could you find your school where your children's activities are? So Dr. Lehman orchestrated that wonderfully that evening. Everybody had questions, and he was right there ready to answer them all. So the exercise was well received by everyone in attendance. The next meeting is 12/10/2024. Somebody asked, where is our students? Because we had mentioned we were going to have 3 students. Actually, I was with Ms. Chanley Dr. Chanley yesterday at a student liaison luncheon, and we have our 3 students that will be participating with us starting December. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Mr. Payne. Are there any board members with questions, comments? Okay, are there any other committees that would like to give a report? Ms. Alvarez?
Hello. Okay, the Curriculum, Co-Curricular, Athletics, Pupil Personnel Committee met on Tuesday, November 12th. The meeting began with a wonderful presentation on the district's social emotional program presented by Ms. Stephanie Goldberg, who is our staff development coordinator. Studies have shown that students who attend school with strong social emotional learning programs perform 11% better on state testing. Strong SEL programs also help reduce anxiety in students and improve attention span. The district's SEL programs are based on the New Jersey competencies, which were adopted in 2017. The SEL curriculum is reviewed annually by social emotional learning teams at each of our district schools. This presentation is accessible on the district's website. Next, the committee discussed the K to 3rd grade report card format. The recent updates to the New Jersey standards propelled these changes. Learner behaviors have been streamlined so they remain the same regardless of grade level. Each building and grade level team worked collaboratively throughout this process. The language is clearer and each section builds on skills taught in the prior school year. Lastly, there were 3 curriculum documents brought forth to the committee. The AP African American Studies is a new course offered to students in grades 10 to 12. This course utilized grant funds to train staff, purchase textbooks, and plan school trips. It is the first time this course is being offered at the high school, and there are students who are interested and have enrolled. The second curriculum discussed was Latin 2. It is a 2-year comprehensive document. This class is open to sophomore, juniors, and seniors who have already completed Latin 1. And then finally, the 8th grade social studies curriculum has been updated to include civic standards. All curriculum documents are available on the district's website. This concludes my report. Any questions?
Ms. Bora?
I just want to thank Ms. Ms. Alvarez for, for running the committee that day and for preparing the minutes. I felt like I got a whole day off when no minutes needed to be prepared. The SEL presentation was really incredible,
Yes.
so my compliments to the administration and Ms. Stephanie Goldberg for doing that. It was eye-opening. We've always heard about what's going on, but to see a presentation was definitely very welcome. The only feedback I had was on the report card part of the discussion. Dr. Lehman, I know that this will be released at the end of the first trimester, right? So the parent emails will go ahead, because while parents that have not had their child in those grades before won't see the difference, but other parents will. So a note going out to them, informing them of the change in the report card is going to happen, right, before the report card goes out. Some communication from the principals.
Yeah, we certainly communicate that the report cards are released. Embedded in there, we can identify that there were some
Yes.
slight changes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know you guys
And they're all
always
very
send
minor
the
changes. It's like
notifications.
resequencing
Right,
orders
just a
of
note
when money's
saying-
taught and things like that.
For anybody who's used to seeing it or has a kid in first grade and kindergarten in the last year and now is looking at a whole different report card, it helps to have proactive communication. That's just all something that we've been constantly advocating for. So that's all my feedback was. Thank you again, Ms. Alvarez,
You're
for
welcome.
taking care of this.
And I have one more report. The Personnel Committee met on Wednesday, November 13th, 2024. Present at the meeting were Mr. Piero, Mrs. DePayne, Mrs. Fabiano, Dr. Lehman, and Dr. Chanley. There was a discussion on high school theater and play stipends. These will be consistent with the current stipends provided at the middle school. Dr. Chanley also recommends that we increase the substitute rate for nurses from $185 to $225 to remain competitive with surrounding districts. Next, there was a discussion on the district's organizational chart. The transportation department will be listed under the superintendent's office, and facilities and operations will be returned to the business office. Lastly, a new job description was brought to the committee. Dr. Chanley is recommending that a new director's position be created, Director of School Counseling and Student Support Services. This new position will replace a supervisor position, which will be vacant due to retirement. Therefore, we don't anticipate any additional cost. The director will primarily be responsible for guidance counselors, substance abuse counselors, 504s, harassment, intimidation, and bullying, and MTSS, which is our multi-tiered system of support. Did I get that right? Okay. This will alleviate responsibilities currently under the Director of Pupil Personnel Services. It is on tonight's agenda for approval. This concludes my report.
Any questions for Ms. Alvarez? Mr. Puri, you want to give the buildings and grounds report?
Sure. On Wednesday, November 13th, the Building and Grounds Committee met at the high school. Present was Ms. Fabiano, Ms. Schratner, Ms. Bora, Dr. Lehman, Mr. Tague, Director Selby, and Director Martyr from Transportation. We also had a guest speaker, Ms. Carolyn Jackson from Honeywell. First, we talked about the Applegarth HVAC upgrade project, which was rebid. The committee reviewed a draft resolution prepared by the board legal counsel recommending an award to the lowest responsible bidder, EACM Corp. Following administration's recommendations, the committee will recommend the board award the contract in the base bid amount and withhold awarding the add alternative for a new kitchen exhaust hood, which is not required as part of the RA grant or current building codes. The committee further concurred the administration's recommendation to utilize the additional $300,000 of state aid for capital outlay to be applied to the HVAC controls project at Barkley Brook, Woodland, and Mill Lake schools. Design of these projects is in the 24-25 budget, and ongoing and construction will be planned for the 25-26 school year. Next, we talked about the district snowplow bid. The committee reviewed the bid results and will recommend the award to the lowest responsible bidder. Legal counsel prepared the resolution for this board meeting to award the bid for snow removal. We had a presentation from Caroline Jackson of Honeywell on the ESIP project presentation. The representatives of Honeywell presented on the current status of the project and provided an overview of projected savings along with a breakdown of potential capital infrastructure projects to be completed as part of the ESIP project. As bids are received for the solar, PPA, and budget projections can be further defined and a final scope of work reviewed, and upon which the construction planning will begin. So once we get the information, figure out what projects we want to hit and how we want to do them, and then we'll move forward for savings. We briefly talked about recycling in the schools, and we're going to ask that administration maybe speak with some more presentations with students with recycling, say garbage, trash in the lunchroom, in the classroom, you know, just so kids are more apt to recycling instead of just throwing everything in the trash cans. That was the building and grounds part. Then we spoke with the transportation director, Ms. Martyr, who was happy to tell us that transportation's been running very smooth since she came into the district a month ago. And she let us know that all busing's been fine, and as of today, we've had no double runs, which is a big plus for the district that, you know, all the students are getting to school on time. So she was very enthusiastic about her job. She said she's working on recruiting to bring back more in-house bus drivers, which we would like to have, but you know, she's very enthusiastic, and I think she's going to do a great job for us. After that, we met with Mr. Selby, our Director of Security. But on the security part, we don't really discuss in public, but Mr. Selby just brought the board up to date on project security he's doing and some of his needs and the needs of other principals in the district. That's the conclusion of my report.
I don't know if anybody saw me, but I just knocked on my wood gavel because transportation is running swimmingly right now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we are
Don't say
just
too
trying
loud.
to keep that momentum going. Ms. Bora? No, Ms. Ratner, sorry.
It's got to be fun having us sit next to each other for you. I did just want to ask a quick question regarding the Honeywell project, which I know we've talked about, and we're really excited to get these projects covered. But I'd actually spoke to Ms. Fabiano because I was trying to find it somewhere in our documents and our meetings that we've watched, and I couldn't. Are we guaranteed the savings? So, like, for example, if we're supposed to save $12 million or $14 million and that is not reached, is Honeywell guaranteed those savings for us?
No.
Yeah, I don't think Honeywell
Honeywell
didn't give an
gives us
amount. It's just there's going to be guaranteed savings.
They can project savings.
They
but
gave
it
us
can't
an-
be perfect.
Oh.
They did give
So
us an
they
amount.
do give an amount. Would you like me to speak specifically?
Sure.
Miss Allen and I were going back and forth having this conversation. I believe Dr. Lehman may have been there as well. So the way it works is, because we had a secondary meeting with the gentleman who represents us on behalf of one of our finance companies, Phoenix. And we also had, I apologize, what's Caroline's last name?
Caroline
Jackson. We had Ms. Jackson was present there as well. So what we asked is that Finance Committee in December Ms. Jackson will come, and this gentleman, Inversano. Am I correct?
Inverso.
Inverso. He's going to come as well, because this is a very good question that you bring up. So if the $12 million cost is supposed to alleviate monies that we may spend in, let's say, electric or gas. Those monies are then supposed to allow us to have money to pay back whatever the loan may be, and this is going to be explained in detail. But there's two things that we have to understand. One is they use calculations that are approved by the state of New Jersey, because it's a whole process that we have to go through, if and when this is approved. And those calculations are based upon formulas which would allow us to have the savings. The word guarantee, there is a policy. There is an absolute policy, and they will discuss this, so people should absolutely watch the finance meeting in December. There's an actual policy that we can pay for that would then hold Honeywell accountable to make sure that we see those savings. It was explained to us by the gentleman from Phoenix, Mr. Inverso. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Come on. And he explained that when you look at whether or not we want to pay for this policy, it has to be based upon cost. So he was saying, because there are districts around us that do utilize Honeywell, and they are in the ESIP program. So if they're doing something and the project is $3 million and the savings is X amount of dollars, and we pay more than the X amount of dollars of savings for the guarantee, that would be no. That would be silly. So one of the things that's going to be explained in detail, and the majority of the finance committee agenda really should be this. It's appropriate, other than just quickly going through the bills, and not quickly. Appropriately going through the bills, but putting our emphasis on the time that needs to be spent, because I think it's very important that moving forward to the ESIP project, that the community respects it, understands it, and supports it, because that is the only way we'll be successful with it. We want to, even though this program is not only sanctioned by the state, but promoted by the state, because it's an energy efficiency and it's a savings to the district. But I really do agree, and I know that Ms. Bora has brought this up a few times, it is imperative that we have this meeting and that we have this presentation, because they use the word guarantee. What they say is, these are the monies that you should be saving based upon, and this is his words, based upon, she's smiling because she was on the meeting, based upon the calculations and I'm assuming that it's done probably by engineers and physics people to come up with the dollar amounts. And then they also, which we're going to be able to talk about at this meeting, they're also going to discuss how the payment works. Just for example, the first payment, because you have to actualize the savings, they don't expect us because we know we don't have it in the budget. So the first payment could be, this was stated by him, this is only a could be, so it's a hypothetical, September of 2026. Because they want to give us the time to actualize the savings. So it is a good question that you brought up, and I know that the details that are going to be provided are going to be invaluable. Thank you.
Ms. Bora?
I just wanted to comment further on this. I think the perspective we all need to have on this is that it's exciting that this discussion has started, that Honeywell has come back with their first report. They came back with $12 million worth of work that would be done in the district. And one of the asks that we made in the committee was that we need a more detailed breakdown as to what would be the cost of each project, because as board members, we may decide to do some and not do some based on our must-have wants and needs. And I agreed that, the first payment might not be needed till 2 years later when we start realizing the energy savings, and the energy savings will pay for it, but we would probably still need to do all the due diligence. But nonetheless, the conversation has started. We hope to get more details from Honeywell on the line-wise breakdown next month, meet with the Phoenix advisors in the Finance Committee. There's a lot more that we as board members will have to continue to look at in the coming months in more detail before we make a final decision. So, including the public, I would ask the public to watch the committee meetings, because a crux of the discussion will happen in the committee meetings. We can't do that in the public meeting. A lot of the back and forth and deliberations will happen in the committee meetings. We do present our minutes here, but they are nowhere close to watching the meeting. And this, it's a state, it's a program pushed by the state. Honeywell is one of the best people we could find out there. So we're in the right place with the right partner, but there will be decisions that we as a board will need to make. And one of the ones that I questioned that day was the solar. We seem to be, they seem to have said that we could do it in a lot of our schools, but back in the days, I've been told that we cannot do it on a lot of our schools. So it's a question to go back and ask our facilities director, what has changed? Why could we not do it before? And why are we being able, has the technology changed? Has our condition of the roofs changed? So lots of discussions, but it's all moving forward in the right direction. So it's just getting started. Thank you.
And if I could just add, some of the things that in his report, in-house with Mr. Take's maintenance department has already started some of this stuff. The things that we could handle in-house, like the changing of a lot of LED bulbs and stuff, Mr. Tage has actually started this stuff even before we brought Honeywell in. And, the things we'll have to really decide is when it comes to like the roof chillers and the HVACs, the things that his maintenance team can't handle, those are the things we would have to contract out, and that's the point we would have to decide, what's the, is it worth, do we have the money to put out to do those things now? What's the savings? What's the long run? So, I mean, I agree. I think it's a great program, and I think we're heading in the right direction. But I know that, it's going to be a lot of, once they'll tell us after their survey and engineers, and then it's going to be the board's going to have to basically decide with Mr. Tague's advice and Ms. Allen's finance advice on, what we'll be able to accomplish and when we could accomplish it. But I think it's definitely going to be a great program for us.
Ms. Radner?
I mean, just to piggyback on what Ms. Borer had mentioned about solar, and I had brought it up that night, but one thing that had, piqued my curiosity is when they had said that we would be leasing the solar panels, so we don't necessarily have to pay for the installation, and basically then they're utilizing the energy that we would be getting. However, then we don't get some of the benefits like the SRECs and things like that. And I know that they had said they did a comparison on their end of where it would potentially save us more money. I guess I would just be curious to see from like a solar perspective, how many years that was looking at, because like SRECs is over the course of 20 years, 15 years. It's a long period of time. So it was only 5 years that might not have been accounted for. And then, the additional costs, both the costs and the things that we might get as a benefit. So as we move through this project, I guess that's just something to keep in mind that we might want to ask to look at.
Yeah, I definitely think those are questions that we bring to Honeywell that they should be able to answer and, get us the information.
I think Mr. Tague has to be prepared for a lot of questions coming from the
Well, I think Honeywell has to be prepared for a lot of questions also because, they're bringing this information to us and, we know Mr. Tague is going to is going to hit the ground running with as much as he can and is working very, very closely with Honeywell. So I think a lot of our questions too are going to go directly to Honeywell.
And I have, just so you know, I have, for that particular date, I know that Ms. Tagliaferro, who sets the schedule, has also invited Mr. Shake, so he would be present at the Finance Committee. And, maybe it's also appropriate that we involve our attorney with experience because we have to make sure that from a legal standpoint, contract language and everything that we do, we make sure that, we have someone, an expert who's completely on our, completely supporting us, similar to how this gentleman from Phoenix is, how he works specifically for us.
Yep.
So I think that would be very valuable.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Would a half-hour committee meeting be enough for that?
We'll probably need to extend the time.
Yes, we'll work on that.
Yeah, we'll adjust the time for finance. Okay. I think that's it for committee reports. Yes?
Yep.
Okay. Then the next item on the agenda is our public forum for agenda items only. Any member of the public wishing to speak, please state your name and municipality for the record. You'll have 4 minutes to speak. Oh,
They're
hold
coming.
on, somebody's coming.
They're coming.
You're good.
George Gunkelman, 5 Kelly Court, Monroe. I'd like to get some kind of an idea of the level of alternative revenue in current years. Is this a significant amount of money, or what are we talking about here? Existing donations, or we took during the policy thing there, we were talking about alternative sources of revenue. What is the current level?
Are you looking for a monetary amount, like how much the district brings in alternative revenue?
Yeah, it's revenue, yeah.
Ms. Allen, is that something we can answer now, or do we need some more time to gather some information? I think,
I know we probably have about 135,000 for the enrichment, for summer enrichment. Donations, let me try to find them.
Now, does that include like grants for special AP programs like the one that was described earlier?
no, grants
The
are
grants,
separate.
no,
Grants are
grants are
separate.
separate. So grants are completely separate. In fact, I just had that up. So grants, I'm going to say, are a little over $2 million in grants, of federal and state grants. And then, let me just...
Mr. Gunkelman, I think, would it be better if we were able to compile the information for you? Do you want to give us your questions, and then we can maybe email you the information?
Sure.
That way you don't lose your time.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
The only other thing I wanted to say is the conversation about impact fees. When I came to Monroe, we still had impact fees in New Jersey. During that time, they were held in escrow pending court review. The courts ruled that the developers wouldn't be required to pay impact fees. So it's not with the politicians, it's with the New Jersey Supreme Court that we got that rejection. So I'm not sure how effective a lobbying our politicians are going to be when the issue is with the state Supreme Court that ruled it otherwise. Plus, the reality of impact fees is they're passed on to the purchasers or the consumers. It's a pass-through. The idea that the companies are going to make less profits because they're paying impact fees is a little silly. They're not. They'll just, if you have impact fees on a residential project, they'll just add it to the cost of homes, which will be paid by our new incoming residents, which will probably make them less able to be supportive of increased taxes locally. So, it cuts both ways. Money is money. Those are the only two items I had. Thank you for your time.
Real quick, I can just, donations, about $6,000 for the year so far. $6,000 for the year so far,
Okay.
for the school year.
All right. My only comment then would be, we spent a lot of time this evening discussing that. Over $6,000, not worth our time. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name's Dominic Torito. I don't live in town, but my children go to school here.
Can you state your municipality, please?
Brooklyn, New York.
Sure.
Yeah. I think the project for the systems is like a way to actually see money. When I'm a systems operator, and whenever the powers that be need money, they come to us and we find the money. It's a great way to actually get numbers, how much money we're going to save, instead of just, we're going to save money. It's excellent, especially with how tight money is. As far as goal number 2 with AI, is there a way for us to see how, because the internet can be like a very dark, dangerous place, is there a way to put policies or safeguards in place where we know that we're being responsible with the content that we provide with the students? Because who knows what it could be. You could ask AI a lot of questions and they won't give you the right answer. So I just was wondering if going forward there was a way to, I guess, safeguard against age-appropriate material or just inaccurate material. We don't want to teach our kids.
At home, do you mean at home or in our schools?
In the schools.
Oh, okay.
According to goal number 2.
Yeah, that's good.
I think that should definitely be thoroughly looked at. Also, since, throughout the goals, the reading of the goals, 4 times active adult communities were mentioned and parents were not mentioned once. Active adult communities in this town, I understand in your interest, are a major voting bloc, but they don't have children in the school system. There's no one under the age of 18 in any of those active adult communities. Why are we asking so many questions about what they want to hear besides the fact that they're voters? What does their interest in the school system have anything to do with the quality of education?
Can I answer that?
I don't think it said, and I could be wrong, I think it said community. It did not say active adult community.
It did say active
It said
adult.
active
And
adult
all
communities,
goals?
and
Not
among
on
the
just
board
the one
members,
goal.
Oh, on the one
active
goal.
adult community
Yeah.
was mentioned 4 times and parents was
Right.
mentioned 0 times.
Right. I can just, I'm a member of one of those
Sure.
active adult
I have family and
communities.
friends, and I do a lot of
Yeah.
work in those communities.
And what
Mr.
it is,
Payne,
I
Mr.
know they're
Payne.
members
No,
of
you
the
don't-
larger
you don't-
sense of the
What?
community.
You don't have
but-
to.
I don't have to answer?
No,
Okay,
no,
fine.
you don't have to. It's
That's
not,
fine.
it's not meant to be a back and forth
Okay, I
dialogue
just wanted
between
to
the entire
explain
board.
about,
No.
how we feel
it's-
in those communities.
Sure, I
It's
mean,
okay.
I'd love to hear the importance of it.
I
It's just-
can talk to you after the meeting.
Great, yeah, that'd be great. All right, thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening, good evening. I kind of have something like a little off topic. Is that all right?
It has to be related to an agenda item for this public forum. There is a second public forum.
Okay.
Where
Talk about
there's any, where you can speak
Oh,
about anything.
okay.
So if it's not related to something on the
Yeah.
agenda right now, it just has to wait until the second public forum. No, that's
That's
okay.
fine.
Monroe, is this on?
Look, hold on, I don't think that one's on. Is it on? No?
Walk over right
Try it now. Now it's
There you
on.
go.
Yep.
Yes. Okay, great. Good evening, Bob Valentine, Monroe Township. Just a question on the board goals you presented tonight. Could you help me better understand how this relates back to the strategic plan? Like, are they supposed to be connected in some way? Or, like, I'm trying to relate the presentation tonight back to the presentation on the strategic plan, how this is either different or the same or part of it. How do they tie back?
So when the board was developing their goals in the committees, we took all of the ideas generated from the strategic plan. We used that in thinking about, each of the 4 or 5 goals ultimately that we started with. They tie into our goals, they'll tie into the goals that we hear from the superintendent, and they all just relate together.
So those things just kind of roll up into the strategic
Yes.
plan?
Mhm.
Oh, great, okay. And just one other quick financial comment. I think it's great, obviously, growing revenue is very important for the district, and you have a lot of great ideas that you're pursuing around that. It's kind of a caution as we look ahead to March. The only problem with that, the challenge with that, is a better word, is challenge is a better word. They'll usually take time, it's hard to quantify what that's gonna be, and there's usually a lot of uncertainty around that. So I just wanna make sure, and I know you're doing this behind the scenes as you work through this, but the expense side is equally important in terms of really being comfortable about, what your spending is and how you're looking at all that. Because I know back in the budget cycle and the election cycle, there was a lot of noise around expenses and efficiency and things like that. So I think, when March comes around, it'll be here before we know it. Some way to communicate and talk about how you evaluate the expense side of the operation and what you're able to do to satisfy yourself so you can help make the public feel more confident that, the way you're spending money and everything you've looked at, and that's in place too. So I just kind of want to make sure that, while you're out there working on the revenue side, which is great, it's important, it's usually the expense side that results in quicker positive change and is equally important. So I just want to make sure that we don't lose sight of that.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Are there any other members of the public wishing to speak? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public forum and move on to the next item on our agenda, which is our Assistant Superintendent's report.
Yes, thank you. A few highlights from the past few weeks. I wanted to start with some athletic highlights. We just are wrapping up our fall season, so congratulations to all our student athletes, our coaches. Yet again, we had another tremendous season. Just some recent things that occurred. Our girls soccer team this past week competed in the state sectional finals. Unfortunately, they were defeated, but they had a tremendous season. The boys soccer team also competed in the state finals, and they were defeated as well. But again, their seasons were extended further than I think they initially thought starting the school year, and they just did an outstanding job. We had a student on the cross-country team participate in the Meet of Champions on Saturday. He did an amazing job. I believe he was 24th in the state, which is outstanding. Next month, our tentative goal is to recognize all fall student sports teams and athletes. So we can anticipate next month seeing all of our tremendous outcomes and recognize our coaches, and we have Coaches of the Year, and it's just an exciting event. Other things to highlight are MTSD Honors Wind Ensemble. So this is the high school wind ensemble. The Falcon Jazz Band at the middle school and the middle school chamber singers have been selected to perform at the 2025 NJMEA State Conference in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Monroe Township is the only school district in the entire state to have 3 performing arts ensembles selected to perform. This is the most Monroe Township has ever had in one single year. So that's exciting. Again, that's another aspect of our students' extracurricular activities and their strengths. So congratulations to them. And overall, it's just been a tremendous fall. We have obviously our marching band participating at just about every home football game. They travel with the football team. They compete on Saturdays in all their marching band competitions. So, all of our student athletes, our musicians, it's just an outstanding fall. So again, just wanted to highlight a lot of that good stuff. We talked academics and student test scores last month. We can cycle back and, take a look at the other side of our students in the district this month. So congratulations, and again, next month we'll be recognizing all of our fall sports. That does include marching band at our recognition ceremony.
Ms. Bora?
Dr. Lehman, I think I misheard, but I wanted to make a correction. The girls' team won the state sectional finals, first time since 1992.
Okay.
So they
And
lost in the state
semifinals.
semifinals, which
That's
is
what it was. Thank you.
no team. So I think the last time any Monroe team won the state sectional finals, girls' team, was 1992. And I just want to share.
Group 2 or Group 4 now?
That was
we're a
Group
bigger
2,
group,
and
yes.
this was Group 4. So first time for Group 4, and I want to share those. There were 5 alums from the Group 2 winning team of 1992 that showed up for that final game, and there's a picture. So it was very heartwarming, incredible.
Yeah.
And I also want to share, Dr. Lehman, about the student that you mentioned who was at the Meet
of Champions.
Meet of Champions.
Yes.
I think he broke our school record this year with a 5K or something. Kid is incredible.
Yeah,
I
it
see
was
him running
around
at
16
all
minutes
hours
for a
of the
5K.
day.
Yep.
Excellent amount of effort that he's put in. So good to see his name out there. And I think he got signed with a D1 college. So it's incredible what our students are accomplishing. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, and one other thing we did recognize, we had 6 student athletes. There's a fall signing day. So we had 6 seniors, student athletes that signed to compete in college. So they signed their agreements to go to the colleges. I believe it was last Wednesday. So we recognized, we set up a nice display at the high school in the Performing Arts Center. We took pictures. The families came. They had all their college gear. Their coaches were there. Some of their teammates were there as well. So that's for the fall sports. We do that also for winter and spring athletes as well.
Anybody else? Questions? Okay, Dr. Chandley, Superintendent's report, please.
So good evening, everyone. So you stole a little bit of my thunder, but that's okay. I won't repeat it. I'll just bring some different light to it. So since we had our last board meeting, we had a lot of action in Monroe. For those of you that are either new here or not, Monroe takes Halloween extremely seriously. Very serious, where it's thematic in all the schools, and I had the absolute pleasure. I was dressed as a tiger or a leopard. I'm not sure which animal I was trying to figure out, or a cheetah, what it was, but I had the pleasure to go to to all of the schools, with the exception of the high school, but I went to all the elementary schools and participated, and I will tell you, the kids had the best time ever. The lower elementaries all do parades. The upper elementaries really have incredible parties in the classrooms. I think it's very important to note this because we do talk so much about fiscal responsibility and curriculum and safety always, and internet safety, but we have to also remember social and emotional learning is also about the children being engaged and enjoying themselves, and the staff as well. So Halloween was fabulous, and then we had all these other activities. Dr. Lehman and myself were both at the signing day. It was very nice because when they put up the banner, they didn't put up the banner where the child is going. A lot of children got good financial compensation to go to these schools. And then I had the pleasure, because I was reminded by my own husband, it's not just the football games the superintendent's supposed to go to. You have to go to the other ones. So I did go to the soccer games. First night was very cold, second night was very warm, and I will tell you, the kids are incredible. The parents are incredible. Everybody's there. It's very, very exciting. It's incredible to see our children really be successful. Group 4 means we're very large now. At one time we were Group 2, and it's just exciting about everything that's going on. And this was all coming off of going to school boards. I know a lot of the board members were unable to attend, but I know that Ms. Bohr was able to attend and Mr. Payne were able to attend. A lot of valuable information. We really try and go AI. I know the gentleman asked a very good question about AI, security for our children, policies, procedures, every programmatic things that we do. We cannot ignore that AI is here to stay. I said this last time, and I said this at a committee meeting. It's here. We have to utilize it to the best of our ability and make it a safe environment for our children. So it's very important when we go to conferences that we have this information and we share it out. And of course, I had a leadership team meeting, actually 1 or 2 since the last time. We talked about these relevant topics. The other thing that we've been doing, which goes right to this gentleman's comments, is that we do daily, if not daily, then at least 2 to 3 times a week, we are working on the expenditures and the expenses. We meet regularly, Ms. Allen, myself, Dr. Lehman, to have the conversations about, are we spending thoughtfully? Our goal is not to eliminate any programs for our children. Our goal is to make sure that we continue to be over adequate. That's one of the things that I brought up at the CAC meeting. We don't want to just be adequate, we want to be above, but at the same time, we want to make sure that the monies we're spending for our children's success and availability and access is money well spent. So that is something we will continue to do, and then during the next board meeting, even before we get to when we have to do our presentation, we will talk about, we do defense rounds. And all the principals and the supervisors, they come forward, and there's an actual defense of the monies that's being spent. So I hope that gives you a little answer to the comments that you were making, and I do appreciate your comments. And yesterday, I had the absolute pleasure of having this superintendent's liaison meeting. Mr. Payne was able to join us this month. The kids are great. We talked about everything from food, which is very, very important. Ms. Schaller had Mets come. She had the regional director there, as well as the Middlesex County director. We had the chef from the high school, the chef from the middle school, and we really want children's opinions. We talked about cleanliness. We talked about safety. We talked about timeliness for the children to eat. And then, of course, we talked about academics. We talked about our accelerated ELA program. The conversation just went all over the place, and it was fantastic. The kids are great. 3 of the children, 2 sophomores and a senior, will be, actually I apologize, 2 sophomores and a junior will be joining us at our CNC committee meetings moving forward. We're very exciting because I do agree, in addition to our community members, that our communities at large, through our active adult communities, as well as all of our parents, it's very important, but the kids, we're about the kids, so we need the kids there because the kids need to have a voice. And during our monthly meetings where we have the liaison meeting, they truly have a voice. And I would say, and they did agree, because they're all repeat, they start in the 6th grade and they go all the way up, probably at a minimum 90, 95, I did say 99, I might have been pushing it, but 90, 95% of what they ask for when doable, or concerns or matters of interest, we hear it and we make the changes. So we're very excited about that. So lots of great stuff going on. And at this time, I will move forward now. Oh, and the last event that I went to was Seva Diwali. It is a culminating activity for the Diwali celebration, which is the celebration of lightness, and it's a celebration of giving. And I have been invited now 3 years in a row by Dr. Parab, and he volunteers his time and organizes with all community members where they go out and they get food for the food pantries. And they also can take donations. Last year, the donation was like hundreds. This year is $2,400. And I don't have my notes, but I have a pretty good memory. 31,000 pounds of food. 31,000 pounds of food was collected and given to the food pantries. It's amazing. And it really allows the children to have an understanding of what service means. Service to community, service to others, service to those that are less fortunate. So I'm going to just make the statement about Thanksgiving, and then I'm going to go to my report, so I won't do it at the end. I want to wish everybody a happy and healthy and peaceful Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving, regardless, I always say regardless of where you come from, what you believe in, what you celebrate. I always make the joke, my ancestors were not pilgrims. They came by way of New York, so I understand. But the bottom line is, it is an incredible time of year to just be thankful. First and foremost, be thankful for everything that we have, and we are in such better position than so many people in this country and in this world. So I wish everybody a happy and healthy Thanksgiving. And now I will get to board business. So before I ask for approvals, we have 4 retirements. Our first retirement for 25 years of service to the students of Monroe Township is Miss Margaret Hoskins. She's a teacher of special education at Woodland School. We wish her well. I've heard the name quite often, just through parents saying, she's great, she's wonderful, we loved having her. My 2 children had her, my 3 children had her, so we wish her well as she continues on her next flight as a Falcon. The next 3 retirees I will just couple all together because they're all near and dear to my heart because they're all from the middle school. So we have Miss Pat Smith, who is the assistant principal of 21 years at the middle school. She started her career, if I'm not mistaken, at Brookside. We have Miss Louise Bauman, 25 years in service as a secretary. She started her career as a para. And we have Miss Amy Pohl, 30 years. She's currently a secretary as well. She, at the middle school. Both of them were my secretaries. Miss Louise Bauman was my secretary, this principal secretary for many years. And Miss Amy Pohl was my very first secretary when we were in the building of Applegarth. And we used to work the late shift together, and we used to say, we have to be careful driving because of all the wet leaves in Monroe. And she used to always say that, and I remember that. And they are incredible ladies, all 4. 3 I work with personally. There are no words. I did not respond to their email saying they were retiring because I do not know what to say, because they are truly near and dear to my heart. And they have been in service to children for so many years, and they are a household name to many of our parents because they just love the kids and everybody knows it. So I wish them a safe flight on the next Falcon adventure as they soar to all the adventures yet to come. I wish them health, happiness, peace during their next journey. At this time, just quickly, if you add that up, that's an awful lot of years. 50, 80, that's 101 years total in service to our kids. Really, really incredible, truly incredible. So thank you. I'm sorry I was a little long-winded, but it was all necessary to say. At this time, under personnel, for a 10-member vote, it is recommended the board approve the attached personnel items A through X.
Motion?
Second.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Bora, second by Ms. DePayne. Are there any questions or comments? Ms. Allen, can we have a roll call?
Yes. Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Ms. Bora?
Yes.
Ms. DePayne?
Yes.
Dr. Peck?
Yes.
Mr. Pirro?
Yes.
Ms. Ratner?
Yes.
Ms. Sharma?
Yes.
Mr. Zeichner?
Yes.
Ms. Fabiano?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Under personnel for a 9-member vote, it is recommended the board approve the attached personnel items Y through AT.
Motion?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Bora, second by Ms. DePayne. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, can we have a roll call?
Yes. Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Ms. Bora?
Yes.
Ms. DePayne?
Yes.
Mr. Pirro?
Yes.
Ms. Ratner?
Yes, recuse on letter Y for Ms. Smith, but I do wish her well.
Okay. Ms. Sharma?
Yes.
Mr. Zeichner?
Yes.
Ms. Fabiano?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Under board action, 10-member vote, it is recommended the board approve the attached board action items A through M.
Motion?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Ratner, second by Ms. Alvarez. Sorry. Are there any questions or comments? Ms. Ratner?
I just had a quick question with the job description, which I definitely like that some of these things are coming under that umbrella. I remember, and I don't remember when it was, it's been since we were on the board, the discussion of, and Ms. Bora's nodding her head at me because I asked her just before, having directors being required to have a principal certification. This just says supervision certification. I don't necessarily disagree with what this says, but I just want to get clarification about that.
Okay. It usually says supervision and principal certificate preferred.
Okay.
If it doesn't say it here, it might have just been an oversight, because that, I do agree. Although, I wouldn't want to hold up the job. because we want to post it because the person's leaving.
Well, not
But
all
I do hear what you're saying.
directors Need to be, not all the directors need to be
Not, well,
principals.
right,
depends on
it
the
usually says preferred.
responsibility.
So what we do is, we, even at any employment job, we even look at, bachelor's degree or associate's degree. So I think, and the lawyer could back me up on this if he agrees, Mr. Weiss, I think it's okay as it stands, but normally we would say principal search certificate preferred, but it's not on here, but that does not mean that we can't approve it, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So if that answers your question, and that is something I do look for, as you know.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Ms. Bora?
Yes.
Ms. DePayne?
Yes.
Dr. Peck?
Yes.
Mr. Pirro?
Yes.
Ms. Ratner?
Yes, and then I need to recuse on the 10-member professional development. It went missing on the agenda. So just for, and I can list all of the people. I can just recuse on the entire item.
Ms. Sharma?
Yes.
Mr. Zeichner?
Yes.
Ms. Fabiano?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Board action under a 9-member vote. It is recommended the board approve the attached board action items N through V.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Bora, second by Ms. DePayne. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, let's have a roll call, please.
Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Ms. Bora?
Yes.
Ms. DePayne?
Yes.
Mr. Pirro?
Yes.
Ms. Ratner?
Yes, recuse on letter N and O for Mr. Ratner.
Ms. Sharma?
Yes.
Mr. Zeichner?
Yes.
Ms. Fabiano?
Yes.
Motion passes.
That concludes my report. Happy and healthy to all. Thank you.
Our next item on the agenda is our business administrator's report.
Okay. It is recommended that board action items A through K be approved by consent roll call under a 10-member vote.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Alvarez, second by Ms. Bora. Are there any questions or comments? Ms. Ratner?
Just a thank you for the donation from Greenbrier for, I just lost it, but the donation they made, I believe, was to the high school choral
Chorus.
program. Yep. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Ms. Bora?
Yes.
Ms. DePayne?
Yes, but under B, bill list, abstain where there's a reimbursement for me.
Okay. Okay. Dr. Peck?
Yes.
Mr. Pirro?
Yes.
Ms. Ratner?
Yes, recuse on bill list for C02946 for Methessel and Werble, C02495 and C02820 for Mr. Snyder, and on the addendum, C03288 for Mr. Rubin.
Okay. Ms. Sharma?
Yes.
Mr. Zeichner?
Yes.
Ms. Fabiano?
Yes, recuse on the bill list for Methessel Werbel, please.
Okay. Okay, motion passes. It is recommended that board action items L through O be approved by consent roll call under a 9-member vote.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Bora, second by Ms. DePayne. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, let's have a roll call, please.
No, she does.
I don't, sorry.
Oh, no,
I didn't see your hand up.
Sorry.
Sorry, was your hand up? Was
It,
there-
it wasn't, you'll see why.
It was not?
I just wanted to give a shout out for the donations
Oh.
that are on this
Oh.
for instruments. Thank you very much to members of the community donating for our music program.
Yes, it's a community member. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Ms. Bora?
Yes.
Ms. DePayne?
Yes.
Mr. Pirro?
Yes.
Ms. Ratner?
Yes, abstain for the letter M for the donation of the 4 brass instruments to the middle school band program.
Ms. Sharma?
Yes.
Mr. Zeichner?
Yes.
Ms. Fabiano?
Yes.
Motion passes, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is the board president's report. I'm going to keep this very brief. It is American Education Week, so I do want to just take the opportunity to thank all of our faculty, staff, administrators, anybody that works in the education field. We appreciate all of your work here, and thank you for all that you do for our students. So thank you very much. I will echo the congratulations to our fall sports teams, especially to our girls and boys soccer teams. I was following valiantly and was rooting for you, and congratulations for all of your hard work. I hope you don't look at this as a loss, but truly you have come so far, and you should be incredibly proud of all of your accomplishments this season, and Monroe is so proud of you. So thank you for all of your hard work this season, and go Falcons for the winter sports now. We thanked everybody for the donations. We did receive a couple of donations on our agenda tonight, so thank you to those members of the community that are donating to our students. And lastly, I do just want to comment on 2 of their retirements. So the first one is Pat Smith. I've known Pat Smith for 30 years, so not to show my age. But she's an incredible administrator, an incredible leader, and we wish her well on her next adventure. And both of my kids had Miss Hoskins. She is an incredible teacher, and very much deserves to retire and enjoy life. I know she enjoys running, so I hope she gets to spend her days doing what she loves most. So thank you to Miss Hoskins for your service here. And then lastly, it is Thanksgiving next week, so I'm going to get a little sentimental here, but I do want to say thank you to everybody sitting up here at this table. I am grateful to finally be able to work with such a collaborative group of individuals. So thank you all for your dedication to our students and our staff. I hope you take the time to enjoy family, friends, eat, relax, and enjoy the holiday. So thank you very much. That concludes my report. The next item on our agenda is other board business. Are there any board members wishing to speak? Ms. Ratner.
So yes, I echo your sentiments. As far as the retirees, it's rare that I know all of them. But with my husband having worked with Dr. Shanley and with the middle school principals, and secretaries, I remember when I first started teaching, someone said the most important people for you to know in your school are your custodians and your secretaries. And, I know they've both been there for a long time, and I know the middle school will feel it. I'm sure they'll have great replacements, but they will be missed. My daughter also had Mrs. Hoskins. I was the class mom that year. She was a co-teacher, and it was a weird year because it was the year of COVID. But she's definitely one of those teachers who goes above and beyond. She's gone to the different kids' activities to watch them perform, outside of the school setting. So, definitely congratulations to her, and I hope she enjoys that. I did just want to do a quick clarification about impact fees. Mr. Winkleman, I would actually love to talk to you more about this, I guess, after the meeting if you have additional information. But from what I know, and Mr. Weiss, maybe you might know some of the legal aspects, New Jersey legislature had approved the impact fees in 1975, but only allowed them for certain things like roads and sewers, water supplies, and specifically had left out education. So I don't know if perhaps that's what's held up in the courts, but what we were sort of looking to see was that education would be included among those as the ability to put impact fees on. I do understand your other point, but I was just curious if that had changed since before 1975, or if there might be something else that maybe I'm unaware of.
I'm not aware of that which Mr. Fogelman raised, but I will say that to the extent that a court was interpreting a law, that may be different than legislation actually being written as the new law for a court to interpret. So I'm not being sure of that which Mr. Fogelman mentioned earlier. Certainly to the extent the legislature is interested in adding school districts as potential recipients of impact fees, if it was done by way of legislation, that is through a new law, arguably that law could be challenged, but I'm not aware of the current status, and given the fact that the Assembly considered it, took it up a couple of years ago, that would indicate to me that it is something that could be possibly changed through legislation.
Okay, thank you. And do you want about that?
Just a comment on that, just for people who are listening, because I learned through this whole conversation that impact fees exist for people listening in, but the benefactor of that is the municipal government. They do get money when builders build, but the school bucket is separate. We don't get any money when new developments are built. And that's what we're trying to fight for, that as much as you pay for the roads and, for any other infrastructure needs of the town when buildings are built, there's also an infrastructure need in the schools, because the town does not fund, we are at that 2% cap no matter what for our budget.
Right.
So that's the fight here, that we want separate money as fees to come towards our school budget. That would be an additional revenue for the school budget. So I just wanted to put
Yep.
that out there for people listening.
Yeah, and that's something that we've seen like several other states that have. New Jersey is just not one of them currently, or never has been from what we know. And then finally, I did just want to commend our district staff, administration, students for some of the events over the last month. It was my first year not going to workshop, so I was sad about that. But one of the benefits of that was that I was able to attend the Haunted High School Halloween, which is amazing. They do an amazing job every year. I don't know how it gets better each year. My son, who's in second grade, apparently was going around to his friends telling them they had to go to this because they'll get better candy than they get when they go trick-or-treating. So he was bragging about it. But great job to them. I also got to go to a few of the sporting events. I went to the middle school girls volleyball tournament they had a few weeks ago, where they had I don't know how many teams there were, but there were a lot of teams from different towns, and sort of like a round robin type thing one day, and that was really enjoyable. And then finally, I know Ms. Fabiano sort of touched on it, but I did just want to say that I really love the fact that we allow parents into the school for American Education Week to come and see what's going on in the classroom and do an activity. I think that that's always really important, to get parents involved as much as we can. And so thank you for allowing that to happen. And that's all I had to say.
Anybody else? Ms. Bora?
I just want to give a quick shout out to our student board member who's not here tonight. And I want to give you a shout out for being here this late and sticking through with us. Thank you. Sehed Chadda, who's not here today, and you mentioned it in your report. I just want to take a minute to acknowledge that while we were giving kudos to our sports and music program, it's incredible what our students are doing in youth leadership. To be one of the 7 finalists for the state and to have a chance to be one of those 2 people. So I want everybody to send Sahaj good luck. We want her to be one of the 2 representatives of New Jersey on that Senate, Youth Senate. And congratulations. I hope more people, I know she's great with theater too, so I don't know if this is related, but I'm really proud of her and want everybody to send her good luck, and hope more and more students get this far in future.
Thank you, Ms. Bora. Are any other board members wishing to speak? Okay, seeing none, then we're going to move on to our second public forum. Any member of the public wishing to speak, you'll have 4 minutes to do so. Please state your municipality and name for the record.
My name is Christian Backoff. I'm Monroe. So, members of the board and esteemed dignitaries, I've come before you tonight with a proposal for a club I've been working on, which is named the Monroe Township High School Republicans. I'd like to first thank the State Charter Club and the amazing Township Republican leadership of both Jamesburg and Monroe for all of their help during this time-consuming process. To start, I've always retained a profound sense of pride in sharing knowledge with students on understanding how the government works. I've come here tonight to express my plans for this club and to answer any questions about it. From my conversation with Dr. Colella at the Monroe Township High School, he has said there was a club very similar to this a few years prior until the teacher/advisor retired and the club followed with it. Now, like you said, we're trying to work on improving, student activity and student development, and this club will do just that. I've gotten over 30 people already that signed this into, in affirming their, agreement with this. So we're growing a movement. The Monroe Township High School Republicans will be the official chapter of the New Jersey High School Republicans and Monroe Township High School. The club shall follow the goals and principles outlined in the official New Jersey High School Republicans mission statement and their bylaws. The New Jersey State High School Republicans mission reads the following. New Jersey High School Republicans, NJHSR for short, is a statewide political organization that serves as an entry point to Republican politics for high school youth from across the state. Founded in 1965 as the Teenage Republicans of New Jersey, NJHSR is the official teen auxiliary of the New Jersey GOP. Recognized as the largest, most credible New Jersey Republican high school organization in the state, NJHSR engages in students to become more engaged within the American political system, advocate within their communities by creating a platform for youth involvement in politics across the country. NJHSR is shaping future leaders of the Republican Party. After I received over 30 signatures in the first day of the club's announcement, I find overwhelming support that has been created and a platform that we aim to create more unity within our school. Just last year, the NJHSR and the high school Democrats passed a bipartisan bill through the New Jersey State Legislature to give students the ability to be marked as an excused absence in order to pursue their civic engagement that has been previously approved. Many notable counties that also have this program is Mercer County, Warren County, and Ocean County. This is also recognized on a state level. I hope to emulate this mission and to continue it right here in the heart of Monroe. Thank you very much and have a great night.
Thank you very much. I love your passion behind this, and I love that you're bringing forth the club, I guess revitalizing it, right, back to the high school. Dr. Lehman, what would the process be like for that?
So we have well, you spoke to Mr. Colella.
Yes, I did.
So did he inform you, or I'm sure he informed you of the club starting process? And what happens is we do an evaluation of current clubs, and we also go through a process where we, like you have already started to collect signatures. There's a club application process.
Yeah.
That's done leading into the spring of the school year. And then what we'll do is those proposals, once they're vetted through the high school, they come to a curriculum committee meeting. Mr. Colella and Dr. Higgins will share those clubs. Then they go on and they make it to a board agenda. They get board approved, and then they would be, if board approved, they would be a club for next year. It's a probationary time where the advisor would work with the students, most of which probably would sign your interest signature page, and you'd operate as a club for 2 years on a probationary status. And after the 2 years, it would then turn into a full-fledged club. So we do have a process to follow. Mr. Colella and Dr. Higgins can guide you through that. But I applaud your initiative. I applaud you for even coming here and speaking to us. We've seen you actually at the curriculum committee meeting previously with your representing Boy Scouts, I believe, correct?
Yep.
So, yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you for coming.
I submitted that application too. That application's been completed.
Yep, good, very good. So we have, like I said, we have a timeline that will take, historically we used to have a smattering of clubs come throughout the entire school year. What we've done probably 2 or 3 years ago is we consolidated the process to an evaluation, so basically a subtraction of clubs that are just like this club probably previously functioned, where maybe it lost interest or the advisor retired and it didn't move on. Those clubs, we have clubs every year that fall off, and then we have clubs that we add. So there's a give and a take, and that process, like I said, occurs in the springtime. So if you want to follow up, or I can have Mr. Colella and or Dr. Higgins follow up with you about a specific timeline, but there is a club application form that you'll fill out and things, and that'll happen in the spring.
Yeah, so. I don't know if this is I don't know if this is right, but Dr. Colella told me that you guys check it in December, that's the earliest, and I try to expedite the process because I really want to get this club up and running as soon as possible.
Yep, yeah, and like I said, we start that process, that evaluation process this time of year, but we bring all the clubs and things in the springtime. So I can follow up with him and revisit and make sure he's clear on the timelines, but I'm sure he is. But you, in terms of getting your stuff, application together, sometimes some clubs take time to get signatures together. Sounds like you had no problem getting the signatures. So we want to give everybody time, because I'm sure there'll be more than one club that will go through this process. And simultaneously, like I said, we look at existing clubs, because I think there's close to 70 at the high school, and we look at attendance, and sometimes there are clubs that fall off too. So your onboarding process for this club will, like I said, it happens for starting a new club. It would be official as a probationary club for next year.
Okay, so the application itself will be reviewed in the springtime?
Yep,
Okay.
And it'll actually come to our curriculum committee meeting. So members of the board here will review and ask questions with Mr. Colella and Dr. Higgins this this spring. And it could be March, May, it could be April, but regardless of when it's approved, the club would be probationary beginning next year. Okay?
All right, thank you very much.
Again, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If I can just make a comment regarding him as he sits down, so, because I know who Christian is. Yeah, you can sit down. You're good. I just want to compliment him because I think it's so important for our students to have passion, regardless of where the passion lies. Just being passionate to come sit through this very long meeting. We have to. You do not. And he had to remain because it wasn't on our agenda as an agenda item, so I want to compliment him. I've also seen him speak many, many times. I was there when he made Eagle Scout, when we went over to the rec senior center, excuse me, the senior center was not the rec center. And I know that he's given back to his community in various different projects that he's done through being a Boy Scout and then Eagle Scout and then coming here tonight. So a compliment to you, a compliment to your parents, and thank you so much for coming here this evening.
Any other members?
Hello, my name is Dominic Torito, by way of Brooklyn, New York. This is not my first time bringing this up, but the Freedom to Read Act has passed the Assembly and since the last meeting has passed through the Senate. It is now sitting on the governor's desk. I am inquiring as to if anyone on this board is in support or in favor or rejecting of this act that will likely get signed. Also, I'd like to know if there is a way to open up public discussion about the repeal of policy 5756, as a lot of our neighboring districts have done the same. I find it repulsive and disgusting. I was just wondering if there was any comment from anyone on that, as I have yet to get one.
So the Freedom to Read Act, we can't take a stance on that. If it becomes a mandate, if it's a policy, then we have to.
I'm not asking whether you're going to comply with it if it passes. I'm asking, as an elected official, if you have a stance.
I can't take
anyone has a stance on it.
My stance, our stance is irrelevant. If it comes down from the state, we
I
have
think
to
it's
follow
relevant
it.
to the public, which is why I brought it up in the public forum. I think it's relevant in case anyone accidentally finds himself in a voting booth. They'll know if you're in favor or not. I've been looking to see if anyone in your campaigns or anything in any of your platforms has said anything about this, and I haven't been able to find anything. So I
Most
thought
of
I
us
would
try to
ask
stay
you.
out of the public political spotlight. So you
But
probably
you
won't
don't
find us
because
commenting. You won't find us commenting on those kinds of things.
I understand, but to stay out of the political spotlight is backwards.
The board is
You're
not a political,
elected,
but the board is not a political organization.
But you're an elected official.
Correct.
Okay.
But it's a nonpartisan organization. We don't run based on party lines. We're not Democrat, Republican, that's irrelevant to our seat.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other members of the public wishing to speak? Okay, seeing none, then we will close the public forum. We do not need a second closed session, so we don't need the public forum for the closed session, which means our next scheduled Board of Education meeting will be December 18th, 2024. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Have a good night, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, everybody.
This is the advertised time, 6:30 to 9:30.